At this time, we'll turn our attention to our opening song. It's called What Wondrous Love Is This? And we're so grateful that the singing group will be bringing that to us live. If you're in the sanctuary, you have the words in your handout, and at home, they will be on the screen so that you can join us from wherever you are. Thank you for that. Our opening sentences will be on the screen. I will read the leader part, and all of you will read the people part. This is from Reverend Sarah Speed. May we find courage here. May we find hope here. May we find truth here. May we find all that we seek. Amen. At this time, we will share some announcements. We want to thank our worship team this morning, all of those who make up our singing group. We are so appreciative for your voices. Our people on tech include Michelle and Palmer, and we're so grateful for their service. We have Patty, Beth, and Becky helping us at home from Zoom, making it easier for people to get access and to help out in any ways that we can. So if you have accessibility issues, we're so grateful that this team here is here to help you. Thanks to everyone who supported our auction and trivia night. There'll be more details about that, but we are so grateful for that kind of service and gifts that we brought to those events. Speaking of volunteers, as you know, there's various roles that are required to make Sunday happen each week, and so we're so grateful for the ways you've been stepping up. As a reminder, we do have a Genius sign-up. The link is there for you. so that if you are interested in starting or continuing in any of those roles, or you're looking for training, you'd be able to go on there, look at your calendar, and sign up for the Sundays that work best for you for our various roles. You can pre-register to join us for our service. If you are interested in being in the sanctuary, we just need you to go to the link on your screen that we send out every week via email so that we know who is coming and we can stay at our capacity limits. Next week, we are celebrating baptism and new members. It's very exciting. I can't believe I'm going to miss it. Juniper and Zinnia will be baptized, so we're hoping that you can join us for that special occasion. And then we're welcoming several new members who don't feel like new members, which is a great thing, that the ways that we've been able to build community. So that includes Becky Jomrose, Sydney Ertner, and Megan and Mike Pedamonte, who have all served in so many ways and are just officially joining, but have been part of our family for a long time. Next week, free online yoga is still available on Sundays. We hope you'll join us. The link for that opportunity is there, and we're so appreciative of that being offered to us. All of our committees are looking for new members, so if you are interested, please consider, and you can always go and participate in one meeting to check it out and then make a decision for yourself. Oh, great. Michelle Williams has an announcement about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to step into the camera line a little bit.
Yeah.
I just want to reinforce, now is a great time if you were thinking of joining a committee or wanted to get involved in church, in committee work. Now is a great time. Several committees have come to the council meetings and have presented what they're doing for the next year, and it's very exciting. We just finished our education task force with some really thoughtful recommendations, but now we need someone to step up and implement them. So if you're interested in getting involved, the task force had some really thoughtful and considered recommendations that are really great ideas, so we would love if you would become involved in that. It's great. The community growth, which is being chaired virtually in our virtual space, has some great ideas as well. It could use some help across the board. Anti-racism is tackling structural racism now, and it's a hard time. It's an exciting time to get involved. So I just wanted to put that out there. Budgets are being created for next year, so if you have ideas about that. I know fundraising is getting a lot of people involved. Trivia night, that's crazy. I've never seen that happen. So I just wanted to encourage you to get involved. If you're thinking about it, go ahead and email the council email address, and we can put you in touch with the chair, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a little bit of your time, just hear what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks to you and Eli for your leadership and for encouraging us in all the ways that you do. I think we have another page of announcements. Is it up there?
Sorry, I just wanted to say the singing group was really just singing hymns, and we're hoping that everybody will sing, and just because we're only up there because we have to be near the mic, otherwise the people on Zoom in our fifth quadrant can't hear us well. But we didn't want you to think that we were performing up there. Because when we were down there, everybody was singing with us, and it was marvelous and wonderful. And but it seemed like people were singing less when we were up there. I just wanted to encourage everybody to join in.
I'll just repeat that in case it comes through louder on my microphone. The singing group is encouraging us all to sing along with them so that it's not a performance, but an invitation for us to sing communally. Thank you so much. The Lenten schedule, we have Maundy Thursday. The service will be at 6:30 p.m. It will be an in-person service following in our tradition of a potluck Last Supper meal together. And then there will be some DIY instructions for people who want to celebrate that at home. Good Friday on April 15th, we know that it's going to be a drop-in service, almost like an open house, from 12 to 2, so that you could dip in for any period of time that works for you. And there will be different leaders. If you're interested in leading something during that time, please let us know. And Easter Sunday is April 17th at 11 a.m., fast approaching, and it will be a hybrid service. So we are looking forward to that time together. If you have any questions for church council or feedback, there's an email there for that. And we also have a dedicated email for prayer requests. So please feel free to share your prayer requests so that we can be praying for you on an ongoing basis. It's time for our time with children. Linda's going to lead us on that on the steps. If you are a kid in the sanctuary and you are willing to join her, she would be glad to have your company.
I'm so excited to be on the steps with you. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Hi. Oh. Hi, Wesley. Hi, Maisie. Hi, Lucille. Hi, Eli. Hi, Nevaeh. Hi, Josiah. Hi, Elena. Hi, Jordan. We're so glad you're here today. And hi, Adrian. Oh my gosh. It's just like old times, isn't it? Does anybody remember what this used to be like? Oh. Oh, this is the best part of the day for me today. I am so happy to be up here with you all. Okay, I know it's been a long time, but you might remember that we start out with anything that you all are thinking about that you want to share. So does anybody have anything they want to share? Eli.
Yesterday, my friend Damien came over.
Awesome. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Is it good to be together with friends? Yeah, we were separated from one another for a long time. Lucille, go ahead.
We're going to have a play date with Eli and Maisie.
You're going to have a play date with Eli and Maisie. Oh, is that going to be an extension of church? After church, it's just going to continue to carry on? Excellent. Well, this feels like a play date, too. What about anybody else? Oh, let's pass it all the way down. Pass down the mic, please.
My cousins came over for a sleepover last night. And it was really fun.
It was really fun. Yeah. Did you stay up very late?
Yes.
Okay. We try really hard to be honest in church, so good job. Good job. Jordan, go ahead.
Um, I'm one of his cousins, and I went over and we watched a movie, and we had popcorn together.
And did you also have fun?
Mhm.
Oh, excellent. And did you go to sleep early last night?
Well, I fell asleep early. All of them stayed up.
Oh, what a wonderful night. And I'm so glad that you all decided to come to church after that. Elena, do you have anything you want to share? Okay, go ahead.
And I was really tired in the morning. And my birthday's coming up.
Your birthday's coming up. Are you excited? I'm excited for you. I love birthdays. Josiah, is there anything you want to share? No? Were you part of the sleepover last night? Did you have fun? Did you stay up late? Nevaeh, anything?
Well, this weekend I had a sleepover at my friend's house, and she had a play yesterday, so I went to go watch that.
Wow, this is just like old times.
Yeah.
Sleepovers, play dates, friends, plays. Oh, wonderful news.
One more thing, April 7th, my dad's coming to town.
That's very soon. That's very soon. I'm so excited. All right.
Me and Eli got 2 cats.
Did the cats arrive? Oh, tell us more.
They're both 4, and one's named Manny and Rain.
Manny and Rain. And they're
Manny and Rain.
Yep. And they're 4 years old.
4 years old. What color is Manny?
They're both black and white.
They're both black and white. How can you tell them apart?
because one of them has their collar off and the other one doesn't.
Well, you know what, we've been waiting to hear more about the cats because you both have been telling us about this story, right? First losing cats that you really love, and then waiting, and then thinking somebody was going to come, and then it wasn't them, and then waiting some more, and now Manny and Rain are here, right? Oh, they're very lucky to be living with you. They're very lucky to be living with you.
Local because every morning so far, well, not every, but the past few days, I'd sit down on the couch and I'd be watching something or playing something, and she'd just sit there on my lap and let us pet her for the hour that we're downstairs.
That must feel so, and I'll bet it feels good to you. That's very comforting when we can be close to somebody that we love and somebody we're getting to know, and we can be so close to them. Well, I have a question for all of you. I'm curious to know if any of you ever feel sad. Can we raise our hand? Anybody who feels like they ever feel sad? Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering if anyone has felt sad recently. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right? Sometimes you feel really sad. Sometimes it goes away and you forget what it's like to feel sad, and then boom, you're sad again. Oh my gosh. I wonder if anybody, you don't have to, does anybody want to say what something is that makes you sad? If you just shout it out, then I'll repeat it. Can you shout it out, Jordan? Oh, so Jordan has felt sad when someone in class was mean, right? Wow, that is a really sad one. That's a really hard one. Eli. Really sad when your dad leaves. So are you super excited that he's coming and also wondering if, oh man, when he leaves, I'm going to feel sad again? Yeah, it's both of those things. When you lose? When you lose a skill in gymnastics, oh, that makes you sad. Well, I really appreciate you all being so honest. I wanted to tell you that right now and in the last couple days, I've been kind of sad. I've been kind of sad. Thanks, Eli, for asking me why. I've been kind of sad because somebody that I really love just died. So, and that person was my dad. Yeah, my dad died just a couple days ago. Now, my dad was pretty old. And my dad was, how old? He was 86. That's pretty old, right? But not, there are lots of people who are older than that. But he was also really sick, and he's been sick for a really long time. So it was kind of happy and sad. It was kind of a relief and also a sadness because he was sick for so long and we didn't want him to keep feeling sick. So I feel really sad because I love him very much. I also feel grateful because I know that he is being held by God. He is being held by the ancestors, all those who have gone before us. He's being held by love, and he's being held by music. I have another question for you. What helps you when you feel sad? What's something that helps you when you feel sad? Adrian. Shout it out. Playing with squishies. That sounds awesome. Jordan. It helps you to be with your mom when you feel sad. Awesome. Elena. When you do coping skills. That's a fantastic. Eli. When you're with your cat. Lucille. Doing gymnastics. Those things help you all when you feel sad. You want to know what something is that helps me? Singing. I love to sing. I love to sing. So I actually sang a lot this week because when I was little, my dad used to sing with me all the time. We would sing together all the time. And so that's a way that I have of remembering my dad, and it's also a way I have of feeling better when I'm feeling sad. And I want to tell you a couple things about my dad. He loved music. He was a good piano player. Does anybody ever like to play on the piano? Yeah. He's played this piano here. He loved this church. He was also a drummer. Anybody like to bang on things? Yeah, me too. My dad was banging on things ever since he was this big, and he became a drummer. My dad also, you know what? Have you ever missed a couple days of school? Yeah. Have you ever missed a lot of school? When my dad was as big as you, he missed a whole year of school. A whole year he had to stay in bed, and he couldn't go to school for a year and stayed in bed. He had something called rheumatic fever, and I'm pretty sure that he was sad during that time. I'm also pretty sure he was banging on things on his bed and singing and playing as much music as he could. Well, I just wanted to tell you about my dad, and thank you for telling me about things that make you sad and things that you do that help you when you feel sad. And you can do them again. And what I really want you to know is that no matter what happens and no matter how sad you are never, never alone. You're always being held by people who love you and also by God. So I'm so happy to be up with you on the steps. Thanks so much. Okay?
Good morning. I'm Kipp. My pronouns are he, him. I am so excited to be here in the sanctuary and to be joining folks on Zoom. I was really excited to see so many kids up on the stage. It felt like a pandemic. What pandemic? That was amazing. Today's sermon comes very much out of the fact that I love to talk about new things that I've just learned. So you're going to get to hear a new story that I just learned this week myself, or a couple weeks ago, really. But first, our readings. The first reading is a poem by the Syrian-American poet Gilmore-Clough. I'm probably butchering her name, for which I ask her apologies. She said about this poem that she wanted to write a poem expressing an ethic of redistributing resources and creating care and family-like safety nets. So it's a poem about what can be, a poem about what should be, a poem about finding little ways to make the world better. It's called the anti-poem is how I would pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the anti-poem, so I'm going to say the anti-poem, also called Me Privilege es Su Privilege by Gilmore-Clough. I will be your auntie in the new city where you have not yet met a soul. Come to my table and eat. Teach me your pronouns. I will be your auntie who wires you money wherever you are stranded in this world, missed your bus, your flight, when you're passing through. Show me how to outline drama eyes like that. I will be your auntie with old-fashioned button shirts and an ironing board you can borrow for your interview. I will introduce you to whatever board members I know. Introduce me to your artist friends. You'll make me look good at my next meeting. You can unfold my couch. Teach me golden hip moves. I will slip you any privilege I grasp. I am your auntie for life. Here are clean sheets and my spare key. And the Bible reading for this morning is one of the assigned lessons. It comes from the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 43. This is what God says. God who made a road through the sea, a path in the mighty waters, who led chariots and warriors to their doom, a mighty army fallen, never to rise again, snuffed out and extinguished like a wick. He's telling the story of the escape from Egypt. She says, forget the events of the past. Ignore the things of long ago. Look, I am doing something new. Now it springs forth. Can't you see it? I'm making a road in the desert and setting rivers to flow in the wasteland. Wild beasts will honor me, the jackals and the ostriches. For I will put water in the desert and rivers in the wasteland for my chosen people to drink, those people whom I formed for myself, so that they might declare my praise. This is God's good news. I just love the random appearance of ostriches in a Bible verse, too. I've never thought of ostriches as biblical stories of ostriches. Oh, this is a story that I learned recently. It starts in Cascade, Montana, population 712, or that's what it was in 2019, the last figure that they have. Who knows what 3 years and a pandemic have done in there. Cascade sits in the middle, roughly, of the state of Montana, and it is the home of St. Peter's Mission Cemetery, which is about all that remains of the mission since it closed up shop in 1938. It had been established by Jesuits in the 1860s. The cemetery is not in Cascade proper, but it sits a bit northwest on Birch Creek. Depending on the source you're looking at, I used Google Maps because I've never been to the state of Montana. But depending on your source, it's either about 14 miles outside of Cascade or about 10 and a half miles outside of Cascade. I suspect the difference has to do with modern roads being constructed in a way that go around hills and mountains rather than straight over them. It was probably a bit trickier in pre-modern road times. That's just a guess, though, because, again, I've never been there. But in that cemetery, there is a modest gravestone popping up out of the lawn. It's got the name Mary Fields etched onto it. The date's 1832 to 1914. The stone, I'll say, I saw a picture of it. It's a sight better than a lot of the stones in our unfortunate cemetery. But more than a century later, Mary Fields' gravestone attracts at least the occasional visitor coming by to pay respects. Somebody keeps the plot manicured and the flowers fresh more than a century later. Mary Fields was born in Tennessee around 1832. She was born into slavery and emancipated after the Civil War. She found work on a Mississippi River steamboat going up and down the river. That's where she got connected to a Catholic judge named Edmund Dunn. She went to work in his home in Florida. So she's all over the place in these early parts of her life. After his wife died in 1882, his children went to live with his sister in Toledo, Ohio, and Mary Fields went with them. That's how she got connected to the judge's sister, Mother Mary Amadeus, which, what a name, right? Mother Mary Amadeus. She was the mother superior of an Ursuline convent. So a couple years later, Mother Mary Amadeus headed to Montana to start a school at the St. Peter's Mission. While she was there, she got sick with pneumonia, and Mary Fields followed her out there and helped heal her. And she stayed there for the rest of her life. This is what is fun about her, I think. After Mother Mary Amadeus recovered from her pneumonia, Mary Fields stayed there at the mission for work. But it wasn't any shy and retiring kind of work that you might expect at a convent. She took on roles that were widely seen as men's work in the day, such as maintenance, laundry, gardening, coordinating supplies, hauling freight, raising chickens, growing vegetables, repairing buildings. She did it all, and she eventually took on the title of the convent's forewoman. She didn't fit the stereotype that you expect at a convent. She had what one admiring writer refers to as a hearty temperament, which means that she was fond of smoking and drinking and swearing. She also knew her way around a gun. After an incident with a disgruntled male subordinate that involved gunplay, I don't know any details other than that, the bishop barred her from the convent. She wasn't allowed to be there anymore. And so she moved herself into town, and she opened a tavern, which lasted only about 10 months because she had a habit of feeding people who were poor for free. Maybe not the best business model, but it was a great way to be in town. And this is my favorite part of her story. In 1895, she was already more than 60 years old. She took on yet another job. The United States Post Office put out a call for a star route carrier. Those are the folks who would bid on a contract for carrying the mail that wasn't an actual postal route. The contracts would last for 4 years at a time, and Mary Fields won 2 successive contracts running from 1895 to 1903 that had her running the star route, delivering mail back and forth between the town of Cascade and the St. Peter's Mission, where she wasn't supposed to be, according to the bishop. She was the first black woman in the country to work as a mail carrier. For 8 years, she did it, riding a stagecoach over the terrain through all kinds of weather, 10.5 miles back and forth between the Mission and Cascade. The nuns at the convent relied on her for it, and they gave her whatever support she needed in the job. It speaks well of them. I think that the bishop generally considered them to be unruly nuns. They're the best kind. Mary Fields carried multiple guns, included a Smith & Wesson .38 tucked up under her apron to protect herself and the mail from wolves and from thieves. Her stagecoach was pulled by a team of horses and by a mule she named Moses. She never missed a day. In 8 years, when the snow was too deep for the horses, she'd strap on snowshoes and walk back and forth with the mail bag slung over her shoulders. She's about 71 when she retired from that star route. But she did not sit idle then. She continued to babysit many of the children in Cascade. She ran a laundry service from her home. If the flowers that still show up on her grave more than a century later don't say enough about how people thought of her in the town, maybe the fact that they closed down the school every year to celebrate her birthday does. Or the fact that when the state of Montana made it illegal for women to go into saloons, the mayor of Cascade granted an explicit exception for Mary Fields. And when her house caught fire in 1912, volunteers rebuilt it. Look, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Can't you see it? I am utterly enchanted by the story of a black woman in 19th century anti-black America hanging out with nuns, breaking social conventions, swearing, drinking, and shooting, upending all of the gender norms, and becoming a postal service pioneer on top of it. A woman who lived through enslavement, through the failures of Reconstruction, through the personal upheavals of loss and displacement, who yet claimed every bit of her sacred being to find water in the deserts and rivers in the wasteland. Heck, to be waters in the desert and rivers in the wasteland. Now, I don't want to diminish her complexity, but I think her story is one that is worth knowing. After all, someone is still keeping her grave flowers fresh. It's a story, to me, that speaks of the power of hope, not of naive optimism, not a willful blindness to the painful and terrible realities of the world, but the power of claiming a sacred center in the middle of all of it, the sense that every sign and symbol of life's futility, no matter how strongly they sing in chorus, still do not get the last word. There will yet be benediction. Hope that there is a pathway forward, that there is a reason to keep moving, that there might yet be a way where there seems to be no way. That's the message that Israel held on to as well. That is reflected in today's Bible reading. This section of Isaiah captures the voice of a people living in exile. Isaiah's people who are people who had a story of being held in captivity in Egypt for generations before escaping and wandering through the desert and finally settling in the land. There was a brief shining period where they were together as one nation before the nation fractured. In 722 BCE, The Assyrian Empire swooped in, conquered the northern kingdom, carried some of the people off to a new place. It was a short-lived triumph for them. The southern kingdom looked on nervously, feeling its vulnerability all the more keenly. And in 586, after the Babylonian Empire defeated Assyria, they swooped into the southern kingdom, conquered it, carried the people off to new places. This is the context of this reading, with all of its insistence on pathways through wilderness and water in wastelands. It looks backward to a remembered deliverance and says out of sheer cussedness and trust that by God there will be another deliverance. There just has to be. This isn't a text that rises above and ignores the suffering and the hopelessness of life. It speaks from in the thick of it and insists that there is still reason to hope, and in fact that hope is the best and the truest option. And it's a text that was held onto and lifted up not only in its own period of suffering and hopelessness, but also after the next turn of history's wheel, when one empire gave way to the next, gave way to the next, gave way to the next, when the cycles of history would seem to make cynicism and hopelessness the best and most reasonable posture. Still, Isaiah says, and still the people read, and still the people proclaim, there will be pathways, there will be water. I've spoken once or twice about Nick Cave, who's an artist, whose musician I love, and whose growth as a human being I am entirely entranced by. He started in his youth inhabiting a music and a lifestyle that was self-destructive and nihilistic, and was very much a response to the pressures of a dehumanizing society and economic order. But over several decades, he has become far more thoughtful and grounded. In recent years, he's even started an email newsletter in which he invites fans from all over the world to send in questions. And he'll send, probably once a week, he sends out a response to some of those questions. This week, he responded to a question from one of his fans who asked him about cynicism as a response to the world's senselessness and violence. And I liked what he said so much, I'm going to read most of it. He said, "Cynicism is not a neutral position. And although it asks almost nothing of us, it is highly infectious and unbelievably destructive. In my view, it's the most common and easy of evils." And he continues, it's an easy posture, isn't it? To say, well, the world stinks and there's nothing we can do about it. So, take that. This is what he says. "I know this because of my early life was spent holding the world and the people in it in contempt. It was a position both seductive and indulgent. The truth is, I was young and had no idea what was coming down the line. I lacked the knowledge, the foresight, the self-awareness. I just didn't know. It took a devastation." And here he's talking about the death of his teenage son about a decade ago, which would lead you to cynicism, perhaps. He says, "It took a devastation to teach me the preciousness of life and the essential good of people. It took a devastation to reveal the precariousness of the world, of its very soul, to understand that it was crying out for help. It took a devastation to understand the idea of mortal value, and it took a devastation to find hope." Perhaps that's the same hope that Isaiah held forth. He continues. I never expected Nick Cave would be my preacher, but I'm really cribbing his notes today. He said, "Unlike cynicism, hopefulness is hard-earned, makes demands upon us, and can often feel like the most indefensible and lonely place on earth. Hopefulness is not a neutral position either. It is adversarial. It is the warrior emotion that can lay waste to cynicism. each redemptive or loving act, as small as you like, such as reading to your little boy, or showing him a thing you love, or singing him a song, or putting on his shoes, keeps the devil down in the hole. It says the world and its inhabitants have value and are worth defending. It says the world is worth believing in. In time, we come to find that it is so. I don't know what Mary Fields would have made of Nick Cave. I don't know how consciously she would have called on this passage from Isaiah. I do know she was a black woman living in a nation riddled with anti-blackness who resisted that by living out her own sacredness. And I'm pretty sure she would not be surprised to know that more than a century later, someone keeps her grave flowers fresh. This is God's good news. Amen.
This is the time of service where we share the joys and challenges of our life so that we can be in prayer together. I invite you to think about what offering in a broad sense. When you join this community, we ask you to share your time and your presence and your gifts. And so we thank you for all the ways that you're showing up. If you're in the sanctuary and you have an offering and you'd like to bring it to the bowl, feel free to do that. And online are some ways that you can share your gifts with the church. You can do that via text. You can also do it through our online giving, or you can mail a check. And we're so grateful for not only your financial gifts that keep all of our ministries going, but also for the ways that you are stepping up and showing up and making things happen as our community continues to grow. Our spotlight for generosity will be given by Kipp.
The past couple of weeks have been our fundraising weeks, and I wanted to take just a moment to thank everyone who took part in those and supported our auction and the trivia night last night. We had 14 teams playing trivia last night. Our first place winners are in the back corner here. Our second place winners are over here, the guests. Third place winners were friends of mine, so each one reach one, right? But I want to name Suzanne Matiola and Christy McCourt, who put a lot of effort into making the trivia night work, and Christy McCourt and Molly Davis, who didn't know I was going to highlight here this morning, but did extraordinary work getting our auction pages up and running. So I thank you for the hours and the love that you put into that. And we're still waiting to find out final tallies, but we came somewhere in the $6,500 range for the auction, and we raised another $500 last night in trivia at our first try at it. So this is a wonderful community effort. So thank you all who took part in that.
At this time, we will all sing the closing song, My Life Flows On, in endless song, and singing group will lead us. Amen. I'm sorry, I feel like I trapped you. You're held hostage by my benediction. May you go forth from this place, wherever you are, remembering that cynicism is easy and hope is hard-earned. May you go forth assured that God will make a way where there seems to be none. Amen.